Adam Lerner, BrooklynPhotoworks.com, and today we are here with another Squarespace portfolio review. Now, before I get into this portfolio review and critique, I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the mentality about having a website portfolio. Your website portfolio is your virtual business card. As a photographer, from a business standpoint, you need to have a platform to display your work in the best way possible. You need a place to go or where people can go and they can look at your absolutely best work. It's also a place where people can get a sense of who you are, they can find your contact information, and they can find out all about what kind of a photographer you are and what kind of photography you do. It could not be easier to set up a website with Squarespace, and they have all of the tools built in there. Trust me, I am not an HTML programmer. I am not an SEO expert. I am not somebody who ever really learned how to do any kind of coding other than very simple little HTML commands. The beautiful thing about Squarespace is that literally you go in there and all the tools, all the templates, all the settings are right in there for you. And if there's anything you don't understand, it's completely loaded with tutorials. There are video tutorials, there's text tutorials, and the Squarespace people will get right back to you. Literally, you send them a question about something and they are right there. They are right on it. Their objective is really to help you guys to build the best site possible. Now, remember, if you guys do sign up for a Squarespace trial, which if you haven't already done so, I can't encourage you enough to do it. If you do that and you do like what you see and the website works well for you, don't forget that after that or within that 2-week trial period, if you do decide to take it to a full paid site, if you use the code ADAM, A-D-A-M, you will get 10% off the first year. And if you go with the middle priced one or higher, you also will get free domain hosting, which is, I think, really, really cool. So now, without further ado, let's get into Aubrey Kingston's website. Now, I get a lot of websites. I've got a ton of your websites. I keep getting them all the time. I think it's fantastic. But this website really stood out to me on a lot of levels. Number one, Aubrey emailed me, and he is a 17-year-old photographer, which I'm always impressed when there's a young photographer that has a really good vision and some business sensibility on top of it. Because, at 17, how much experience do you really have in life, in business, and all that kind of stuff? And I was very impressed with both Aubrey's vision and his business sense. So let's jump right into his site. First of all, we get onto his site. There's a really nice scene over here. I like all of the, kind of the softness of it, and there's it's like a little bit contemplative. And the only thing I'm not crazy about is this poll or this post in the center of it. And I'm not quite sure if he, being a portrait and event photographer, if this image really ties that in. So what I would say is that if you're going to bill yourself as a portrait and event photographer, you really kind of want to have an image on your home page or the very landing screen that exemplifies that aspect of your photography, and it really exemplifies it in one of the best ways possible. So let's enter. We get right in here, and it lands on his senior portraits page. Now, I looked at his senior portraits, and I can tell you I am so impressed. All of these images have really, really nice composition. They have really great light. The subject's expressions are really terrific, and I love how he's got the subjects popping out of the background. There's all this beautiful selective focus. You can see all the background is completely, soft and bokeh out, but we've got really nice focus. We've got great eyes on all these people. Just really nice stuff. I'm just going to quickly pop through there. I mean, just wonderful framing, really nice, lines over here. Look at this one here with the vanishing lines. Maybe this was taken inside a walking bridge or something like that. Great expression. Same kind of deal here. Really terrific light. I think that he was saying something like he shoots with maybe a Photek soft lighter, which I think is it's actually one of my favorite lighting tools as well. But the lighting in here doesn't look overly lit. The lighting's really nice, and I like the way he places his subjects against a background, whether it be a dark background or a textured background or a varied background there that really allows for the subjects to pop. And the nice thing too about Aubrey's site is that at 17, he's got a lot of variety. So instead of him having put up here 20 images of each one of his subjects, in some cases, maybe there's just one or two. Like, this is great. We've got the portrait, then we've got the 3/4 look over here. Really, really nice stuff. And I'm just going to keep going through here. He took this subject down to a river where there's a bridge. This one has like the leading line from a wall, but it also has this kid in the gym. But look at how nice it is. The background's all blacked out like that. She's on this stair with the lovely lush green background, great smiles, just really, really solid. I mean, look at this, man. Like, this is just really solid. Great use of working with your subject. And even this second portrait of her is also fantastic. I love the dog's eye view with the really shallow focus, great expressions, really nice focus in all of these images. And I also think that Aubrey did a terrific job in laying these images out. I think that they flow really well with each other. I think that the only image that I'm really having a little bit of trouble with is this one, because it looks like the image is kind of tilted. She just looks a little bit uncomfortable. Let me just say that. Okay. Like, she's tilting a little bit back. Her hand is practically cut off over here. There's this branch of death that's about to stab her in the head, and she's squinting because it's so gosh darn bright, which is it's a tough thing to do with a subject. When you're shooting in the bright sun, it's hard to shoot a subject who's not going to be squinting. Now, granted, I'm not cutting down his work at all. I'm just saying that out of all of these portraits in here, which I think are all strong, I would say that one, even though you've got a really pretty girl in a pretty setting, she's just squinting and looking a little bit uncomfortable in this space here. Now, I have one gripe with the layout of this, okay? I don't like that I have to click on an image or click on this little arrow to get to the next one. I don't like that I don't have a thumbnail view where I can just selectively go to one. And I don't like that I can't see these images larger. I think these images are really strong, and I want to see them either full screen or I want them to pop up and be larger. So that's one thing I'd love to see over here. Okay, now let's go over to education. Now, these are terrific. These are lifestyle. These, honestly, to me, are strong editorial images that could hold up in any kind of a publication. And I think that being able to shoot portrait and lifestyle is really, really a terrific mix, because not only is he able to capture a wonderful, portrait of somebody and really have them connect with the camera, but he's also able to selectively capture people in their environment. And all of these are terrific. There's plenty of context. The angles are really nice. I mean, look at this. Look at how solid that is, man. It's lit really well. Background looks terrific. You've got people doing their thing, and I really think that the educational work is fantastic. So again, for Aubrey, your portraits and your lifestyle stuff really works. And I think you could certainly elaborate this to having categories where you just call this portraits and you call this lifestyle, and you start building into other subcategories of photography in those realms. Okay, now, as far as the personal work goes, I think personal work is terrific. I think the shards project is really interesting. I love the way you've got these really blown out images with this incredibly tack sharp bit on this shard of glass. I think it's a really kind of a cool thing. It's interesting. It's well shot. There's not a lot of work in here, and I think that I'd like to see you kind of take this a little bit further and maybe build on this project a little bit as well. As far as the things go, this unfortunately didn't do much for me. I think product photography is a really tough one. I think this one's an interesting one. Here you did a self-portrait, I know, because I went to your About page with all these little pool balls in the air. I know you're experimenting here, taking a picture of, the camera gear and close-ups. I have to say, and please forgive me, man, I think that your portrait work and your lifestyle work is terrific, really strong. I think that your product, things stuff, I think that that's not as strong. I don't think that that showcases the best of you as a photographer. And I would much rather, have you just kind of selectively maybe experiment with this stuff and put it up on, Facebook or Instagram or Tumblr or something like that, where you can just kind of play with it. But I don't know that it showcases you at your finest, looking at all the work that you have on your site. Okay, so now, going to the actual navigation of the site, I like the logo. I think it looks really nice. I like the fact that you've got your email and your phone number always displayed. I think that's really good. And I guess let's see what happens here. If we click on this, I don't see anything happening. Let's just see if there's a link in here. Let's see. Anyway, I don't know what's happening with this link. I think that having just some static text over, I would like to see this be a live link to your email, or have you put a contact page on your website. Okay, now let's go to the About page, because I don't see a contact page, so I'm going to go to About, and there we go. This is a really great portrait, okay? A self-portrait, I should say. It's fun. It shows some personality, and I think that's also a really cool thing when photographers put a photo of themselves that has a little bit of an edge, it has a little bit of personality, it doesn't take themselves too seriously, and I like that. It definitely captures your youthful vibe. It's really nicely edited. I like the way it's lit. I think it's pretty cool. And let's just look what you said here. I'm a passion photographer out of Wilmington with a knack for getting the most genuine expressions out of my clients. See light as a tool. Very nice. I mean, look, this sounds terrific. The words are cool. I would just say if you're going to put a period at one paragraph, or one line, put them in all lines. Now, when it says representation and you've got front seat management, I don't know what front seat management is. And there's no link to it. There's no contact person there. I would say, honestly, if representation, front seat management is kind of like a made-up thing, or that's your own thing, I would leave that out for now, okay? Unless you actually have representation, I don't think that's so important. And I think that if it's not a real entity, I would just lose that right there. Now, as far as pricing goes, I think that it's good to have pricing, particularly if you are really billing yourself as a as a senior portrait and portrait photographer. As far as weddings in here, if you've not ever shot any weddings, okay, I would be a little bit careful. I think weddings are a real tricky business, and until you go out there and you second shoot and you assist, or you just learn about the wedding business a little bit, just the fact that you've done these other kind of shoots and you're kind of like maybe testing the waters to see if you are also a wedding photographer, I think is a slippery slope. I would maybe, I don't know. I don't know if you've shot weddings. I don't see that you have. So I would maybe take that out of there until you have, okay? And in the meantime, go around Wilmington and see if there's wedding photographers that are looking for a second shooter and stuff like that, and get some experience under your belt and actually see how weddings actually work until you're ready to take on your own wedding photography as it is right there. So, okay, great. So there it is. So that's it, guys. Aubrey Kingston, really terrific work. I'm really impressed. I think there's a bunch of things that you could do to improve your website to make it, look a little, flow a little bit better. Maybe trim the fat on some of the stuff that maybe I feel doesn't really belong on here. Please continue to send your websites for review and critique to brooklynphotoworks@gmail.com. That's it for now. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and we'll see you soon.